Okay, we were talking about, you know, regarding different people, if you're a certain craft, if you if you are an uman, let's say we spoke about a guy who is a tailor, and if he would wear his needle on his garment, like people wear an ID, we said you can't go out on Shabbos, of course, with that in your garment. But the question is, is it a Torah violation of carrying if you go out with your needle in your garment? Most people, the average person doesn't carry a needle in their garment. Either hold it in your hand, most probably, because it's not so, you don't want to get hurt. But you won't put it in your pocket, most probably. You hold it in your hand. But this guy, because he's a tailor, he wants to advertise that he's a tailor. He's looking for some jobs, right? And therefore, similarly, the Gemara said about a guy who would put a piece of on his shoulder. If a person would, if you dye clothing and you put a little piece of material on your shoulder and you go out with it, you want to advertise that you are a dyer. Now that's not the normal way during the week that he carries his fabric. He carries it on his pocket or in his hand. Therefore, the question is for him, for that particular person, the Gemara wants to know: would that be considered carrying to on a Torah level, and would require the korban chatas, the sin offering if he does it unintentionally, and if he does it intentionally and he's warned, the capital punishment. So that is a machloket. We had an argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, and because the Gemara had a question, the Gemara had a question regarding because the Gemara was trying to deal with the issue: do we make a double gzeira on Shabbat or don't make a double gzeira on Shabbat? And the Gemara seemed to have found a place that you do make the double gzeira because it says that you can't go out before Shabbat with a needle that's in your garment. It's stuck in your garment. And the Gemara was thinking, if your needle's stuck in your garment, that's not the normal way you carry. And nevertheless, you can't do that. You can't go out before Shabbat because you might come out to do that on Shabbat. But even if you go do that on Shabbat, it's only rabbinic. So it's rabbinic before Shabbat, prohibited, because you might walk out with it in your garment on Shabbat, which is another rabbinic. So it's rabbinic on a rabbinic. And yet you said it's forbidden. So the Gemara says it's not rabbinic on rabbinic. Why? Because it's really it's a rabbinic on a Torah. Protect the Torah law. Why? Because going out with a needle on Shabbat, if you wear it in your garment, it's stuck in your garment. It's Rabbi Yehuda holds. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's a biblical issue. Right? That's what we said yesterday, right? Adam, it's a good Ralph, good recap of what we said yesterday. And then the Gemara pointed to a Zav. The Gemara the Gemara brought a different writer where it says a Zav, a man who has a discharge. Are you looking for something? You're looking for talat for tefillin. There's shul tefillin, and you're looking for your tefillin. Okay, you should find it. Now, we have two opinions. If a Zav, a man who has an unusual discharge, right? And the Torah says he has an unusual discharge, he is tamei, he is contaminated, he can't go into the Beit HaMikdash during that unusual discharge. And if he has two of those unusual discharges in the same day, he would actually be contaminated for 7 days. And so this guy who is a Zav, he says he cannot go out on Shabbat. Now, what they would do is the Zav, to protect himself from the discharge, he would put on a cup, and to catch, he would put by his private area to catch the discharge. And that this discharge could come out at any time. He doesn't know when it's coming, and So now, is he allowed to go out on Shabbat with this, or he can't go out on Shabbat with this into public property, from private property to public property on Shabbat? So both opinions say you can't go out with this on Shabbat. It's not. This is a at least a rabbinic possible problem of carrying. This you're carrying this cup. This cup that you're wearing on your private area is not a garment. It's not there to give warmth to your body. It's not a garment. It's not a piece of jewelry. So it's not part of your body. You wear a piece of garment. How do you wear clothing on Shabbat? You carry your clothing. You're not carrying your clothing. You're wearing it. It's part of you. But here the issue is this little cup, whatever he has on him. He's not allowed to go out with it. But if he goes out with it, we have two opinions. One opinion says he is chayav. He violates the Shabbat on a Torah level, and one opinion says he violates the Shabbat on a rabbinic level. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef says, you know what? Lo kasha. Yosef says, these two opinions are not contradictory because they're two different rabbis. They're two different rabbis. If you look on 11b3, that's the first side. It says, Lo yitzeh zav b'kiso. This zav, this person who has this unusual discharge, who we said it's like he's sick. It's not a usual discharge. The guy is a little sick. The Torah, and by the way, the Torah is showing the guy that he is sick, that there's something wrong with him. And by having this unusual discharge. So it says he can't go out with this kiso. Tanya idach, so the first bright that says if he goes out with it, he's exempt from the Torah violation, but it's forbidden. We have a different bright that says he should not go out chatat. If he goes out with it, he is chayav a chatat. He is chayav a chatat. Maybe we'll get out the Shulchan Aruch on this halacha. 1 second. So the Shulchan Aruch is found in Siman Shin Aleph, Sif Yud Gimel. So Shin Aleph, Sif Yud Gimel. Let's see what it says. It says, so first of all, in Sif Yud Bet, it says, a tailor shall not go out with a needle stuck in his garment. But if he goes out, he is patur. So the halacha does not agree with Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha does not agree with Rabbi Yehuda that it says if you're an uman, if you're a craftsman, if that's the norm, if you go out with it because you advertise, the way Rashi says, that's not considered. But most of the time, you don't go out with it in your garment, the needle. That you will not be a chayav on a Torah level, because the normal way that even the craftsman goes out with the needle is he usually puts it in it. He has it in his hand. Even the craftsman, when he wants to announce about it, it's only when he wants to announce about himself, that's when he goes ahead and he puts it on and sticks in his garment the needle. Now, but the Mechaber of the Shulchan Aruch says, in the first opinion earlier, that if you have a needle with a hole that's stuck in your garment, everybody would be violation of carrying. That's talking when you stick it in your garment in a place that you would generally, you would sometimes put it in the weekdays. And here it's talking about you stuck it in the garment in a place that the only person that would ever stick it over there is a craftsman when he wants to announce that he is a craftsman. That's what's not called the normal way of carrying. And even Rameya would hold And Rameya would hold these patur. Now, he says that the Vilna Gaon says, and the Vilna Gaon says like that Rabbi Yehuda would hold the Pasuk like Rabbi Yehuda that the craftsman would be chayav. Okay, so there's a whole discussion about in the halacha regarding more details about, at the end of the day with this story. But the bottom line is the Chafetz Chaim in the beginning over here says that if you stick it in a place that nobody throughout the week will stick it in that place, will place it in that place. The only time you will place it, that you would do this is only for the purpose of showing that you're a craftsman. So at least in the beginning, the Chafetz Chaim says, the first opinion says it's not called the normal way of carrying. Now, so now we say back to our Gemara. So the Gemara says, and that's what the Shulchan Aruch says. The Shulchan Aruch says about the Zav, the guy who has that, if he goes out with this thing to catch his discharge, Shulchan Aruch says he can't go out with that. Now let's continue. So the Gemara says, Omer Rabbi Yosef lo kasha, ha Rabbi Meir, ha Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara wants to say that the two opinions, the two brightos about whether the Zav, the guy who's protecting himself from the discharge, if he is violating Torah law, rabbinic law, it depends if you go like Rabbi Meir or Rabbi Yehuda. Because Rabbi Yehuda says that if you do that, if you sometimes go out that way to announce that you are a craftsman, that's called carrying. The other opinion says no, since the only time you do it is to announce that you're a craftsman, that's not considered the normal way of carrying. Is everything clear over here? Let's clear. What's called the normal way of carrying? If this is this now, this is, you're not wearing this. This is not called. It's not a garment. It's not an ornament. It's carrying. If a guy goes out with this pouch around his private area to catch, he's carrying something. He's carrying this thing. But the question is that called the carrying that's the normal type of carrying? You hear the question? Mm-hmm. And if it's normal type of carrying, he's in Torah violation. A normal carrying, like we said, if you carry something in your sock, you're not violating the Torah. That's not the normal way of carrying. So if the Zav, the guy he's carrying, this guy who is worried about discharge, is this called, the fact that he's wearing it, the average person is not wearing it. But this guy is wearing it. At least for this guy, is this called normal? Now, so the Gemara was thinking that there's an argument whether this is called normal or not for this guy. What do you say, Adam?
There's other medical devices too. Some people need something like that to help them urinate or something. It's like, what happens to those people?
Right. So here the issue. So they might not be able to go out into public area on Shabbat. They might have to, if they need some sort of outside. Now, if you're going to protect, see, the only question is we have to understand if you're protecting your body, that your body shouldn't get dirty. So then that should be fine. If you're wearing, then it might serve like clothing, and you're protecting your body. If you're not protecting your body, if you're protecting your clothing, that I can't go ahead and put something on my, if it's not a clothing material, it's not worn as clothing. And I just want to protect, when I put a plastic on my hat on Shabbat to protect my hat. So that would be an issue, because that plastic is, if the plastic, let's say, what do ladies do when it's raining? The ladies, they wear a bonnet, right? It's called a bonnet or something. But they're covering their head. So if they're covering their head, it's not a problem. They're protecting the head. And if even if the lady is wearing a wig, but she still it covers some of her face. It's covered. It's not just protecting her wig, which is wig is like a piece of clothing. It's actually protecting her face, her body. It's not just staying on the wig. It protects the face. Some of it runs down here. But if you just put a plastic on top of your hat, your cowboy hat on Shabbat, not cowboy, whatever hat you're wearing on Shabbat, if we're not wearing cowboy hats, we're going to wear a different type of hat on Shabbat. But that protecting clothing would not be sufficient. So it could be in those cases, we'd have to look into the halacha, Adam. If they're protecting their body shouldn't get dirty, their body, not their clothing, then it should be fine. And then that might be different. Now I don't know. We have to know why is this discharge of the zav? Why isn't he's not doing it to protect? It seems like he's not doing it to protect his body. It's not that he's concerned about I know, but no, but it seems like the Shulchan Aruch does say the Shulchan Aruch does say that he is doing it not to get dirty. So the question is why is it not called right. But so he says because he says that even though you're protecting your he says the Zav should not go out with this good morning Emmanuel and Asaf. They shouldn't go out with this cup that he because that's called where you're carrying during the weekdays. And he says it's not called the clothing, because it's saving you from getting dirty. And anything that saves you from getting dirty, he says it's called you're carrying. It's not called unless it's a garment. See here, it sounds like if you're wearing something, if this is unless this is a garment, this is not a garment. This is just some sort of cup. So maybe the problem is if you put a cup to catch it, so that is not called it's not a garment. So therefore, it would not be that would be a problem. See, the Shulchan Aruch says if it's a way of wearing something, even if you're only wearing it to protect you from getting dirty, that is fine, because as long as it's a piece of clothing, you're doing it the way of wearing. So if you're protecting your body, and it's more of a clothing type of thing, but here this is not called clothing. That seems to be the situation here. That if the reason why it's no good by going outside with this cup, even though he might be protecting his body, he doesn't want to get dirty with this discharge, but you don't want to. But what are you doing? You're not wearing. It's not a garment. You're protecting yourself from getting dirty, not in a way of a garment. So therefore, that would be a problem. If it would be more of like a type of garment, right? And the whole purpose of wearing this garment is that you shouldn't get dirty. That would be fine. Your body shouldn't get dirty, and it's a garment. Then it would not be a problem. Is that clear, everybody? What we're saying over here? It seems like we're saying you could understand that a cup. If you put a cup on your private area and you walk out on Shabbat, you're carrying the cup. Now, so maybe that will answer. So your case, the guy is wearing something so he shouldn't urinate on himself, right? Let's say the guy's had urinal problem, and he's going to go outside with this type of thing, whatever, catheter, whatever, right? Whatever he might go out with on Shabbat. Again, we have to look into the halacha, but the question would be, you're wearing that. It's not unless, the question is, would that be, it's not more of it's not like I don't know that's called, is that called the way of wearing a garment? I don't know that's that would be the question. Say it again?
What if you have a band?
Right.
Bleeding.
Right, right. We say you could go out with a if a guy has a Band-Aid, we say you could go out with a Band-Aid. Um, maybe you know on Shabbat. We don't
What
say
about
it. um,
what about glasses? If
Right,
it's reading glasses,
the glasses are like your eyes. The glasses are like your eyes, so it's not a problem.
but if it's reading glasses, you can't really walk out in the street reading glasses
Right.
because
So reading glasses would be what's the purpose of what's the now if the reading glasses are people wear glasses just for for the styles. If it's for the styles, then it's the norm that people would wear that even without even if just for people like to have glasses, wear glasses. That might be a reason, perhaps. Depend. Now that's a good question. Ralph. But if it's a nice looking pair of glasses, then maybe that
I'm not
might
even
be.
talking about that. I'm just talking about if you need reading glasses to read and you can't use them to walk, what do you do?
But if they get the reading glasses before Shabbat, you have to leave them in the shul. So a lot of synagogues have reading glasses. They have a whole box of them just for that purpose. A lot of the old synagogues have a box of reading glasses.
It's,
Because
if you leave them there, you have to just walk blind outside of them. They're ornaments.
so I'm saying if it's in fancy ones, then it could be like now when you reading glasses, you can't.
would never otherwise wear it.
If you never otherwise wear it, now you're just using. Now what are you doing with it? You just want to carry it. It's a way of carrying it to shul, right? So then that sounds like that might be a problem. That's why keep having reading glasses in the synagogue. Bring it there before Shabbat. You come on Friday before Shabbat, before synagogue, bring it over there. The problem is when you get having pray in one shul Friday night and one shul Shabbat morning. So that's why many synagogues have a box of reading glasses. So we're gonna go. We have to look more through these halachot, but the basic thing that the Shulchan Aruch is saying, if you're wearing it in a way of wearing, it's a way of wearing. That's now we have to understand more about that. But if it's a derech that people wear, like the way people wear, it's like a garment of some sort. Then it would be permitted if you're doing it to protect your body, right? You're not doing it to protect your clothing. Okay. And let's see more in the Gemara. Okay. So now we have understanding why, because it's not a piece of it's not a clothing of any sort. It's not a way of it's not a piece that this cup is not it's not considered clothing. It's not the way it's not morning. 7:30 Lamala.
Where?
Lamala, yeah. But if you want, we're gonna be here until 7:25. You could stay here if you want until 7.
What are you doing there? Daf Yomi?
No, not that film. Gemara Shabbat.
You want to buy? I just wanted to say Korbanot.
Oh, very good, very right upstairs. All right, you can take the elevator or you can take the steps. Elevator's right here and steps is to the right. So that's that's what the Gemara says. I mean, the same way we said yesterday, you can't go ahead if you tie a key, you put on a key, or the other day, if you have a key and you put a key through a string and you wear it, but that's carrying. It's not an ornament, and it's not a type of way of wearing. It's not clothing, and it's not jewelry, right? That would be a problem. I want to carry the key, through that way. So that's what we're saying about this cup is also, it's not called, you're not wearing it. It's not like a piece of clothing that becomes part of your body. That's so that seems to be the issue why you can't go out with this cup on Shabbat. Anybody has any particular situation, we don't have to look into the particular halacha about, what's the halacha again, with this is specifically talking if you're going from private property to public property or you know, these type of, or in a place where there's no Eruv. Obviously, if there's an Eruv, there's no issue. So that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara wanted to say that the argument is the two opinions of whether a Zav could go out with this cup on Shabbat, this we call it protection, is dependent on the machloket. The Gemara want to connect it to the story of the people that advertise their profession, right? Just like when the people advertise their profession, we said that Rabbi Yehuda says that's called carrying. So too, if the Zav goes out with this cup, that's called, if that's the norm for him, right? Just like it's the norm for the guy to advertise in this fashion. So if it's called normal and became a normal way of carrying. So this is also called normal way of carrying for this guy. But the other opinion who says that that if you advertise your profession, it's not the norm way of carrying. So too, if you go ahead and if the Zav wears this cup, that's not called the norm. That's not called the norm. So the Gemara says, how do you compare the two? He says, Omar Alei Abaye. Abaye says, you know what? When Rameya says that the guy who advertises that he's a weaver, he's a tailor, is not obligated, it's not called the norm, because he never goes out that way during the weekdays for the purpose, because he only does it to advertise. Look, let's see the language of the Gemara. Amalei Abaye, Ema de Shabbat Meiler Rameya b'midi de lav hainu orche. Rav Meir says his law, when something, even the craftsman in general, how does the tailor go out when he wants to carry a needle? How does he carry a needle during the weekdays? How does a dyer carry his garment during the weekdays? He always when he carries it in his hand. The only time he actually wears it on his shoulder, the only time he wears it sticks it into his garment, Rameya says, is only when he wants to announce himself, when he wants to do advertisement. Since his normal way of carrying this item is in his hand, and the only time he will do this is only when he feels it's time to advertise. When he doesn't need to advertise, when he has work, he doesn't carry it that way. He got work for the whole week, Adam. He doesn't need to advertise, let's say, perhaps. So he never carries it this way when he wants to carry. For the purpose of carrying, he doesn't carry it this way. He only carries it in his ear or on his shoulder when he wants to advertise. So that's not, and then so if on Shabbat he goes out that way, that's not called carrying, because that's not the way he carries it. If he wants to carry the needle, he carries it in his hand. He wants to carry fabric, he carries it in his hand. The fact that he wants to advertise, he will put it on his shoulder or he will stick in his garment. That's not the way to carry. That's the way to advertise. And therefore, that's not cool. Rameya holds, his opinion is that if he walks out with his needle in his garment, that's not called carrying on Shabbat. That's not the way you carry a needle. And therefore, he would not be in biblical violation. However, the Zav, the guy who's concerned of the discharge, this is the way he carries the cup the whole week. He carries the cup the whole week attached to himself. This is the way to carry it. This is the way he carries the cup. This is what he does. This is the norm. This is his everyday going. the tailor is, he doesn't every day have it stuck in his garment. That's not how he carries it. He carries it in his hand. But the Zav every day he's going, or that day, this is how he carry. This is the way he carries it. He carries it by walking with this attached to him. It's not a garment. It's not an ornament. So therefore, since this is the way he carries it, this is the norm way for it to carry it. So then he should be chayav. Everybody should agree that the Zav should be in Torah violation. That's what he shoots back. Midi de lav orchei, but midi de hainu orchei, but something that this is the norm for him to carry it. Mi shametle. Where did you ever hear of such an allowance? Sorry, where did you ever hear that's not, if it's normal to carry it, that's called normal to carry it. That would be the Torah violation of carrying, because that's the way he carries. It's just like if let's say if it would be normal for a person to carry a key by putting a key around your neck, you wear your key. If you wear your key every day because that's how you like to carry. Older people do that. A lot of times, the older people, maybe even younger people, then maybe it's hard for some of the people they might to carry the key. Or let's say a lady, she doesn't have pockets in her dress, so she's not wearing pants. If she's not wearing pants, she's not wearing. So how is she carrying a key during the weekdays? How does she carry a key? She has to have a pocketbook, or she has to have her carry in her hand. So it's very convenient for some people to carry a key, put it on a necklace, put it on a thing, not a necklace. It's not an ornament. It's just you just go ahead and you put it around the string and you wear it. So are you carrying your key? If you're carrying, that's how you carry your key. That's carrying. It's not jewelry. You didn't make it in a way that you made it jewelry, and it's not a garment. It's not clothing. The clothing becomes like part of you. It's become like most probably nullified, bottled to you. This clothing is me. It's part of me. My key is not part of me. So the same way you understand that if you would go out with this key tied to a string, I'm carrying a key. That's how I carry a key during the week. If I do that on Shabbat, I'm carrying the key. So too, the Zav, the way he carries his cup is he attaches it to himself. It's not part of his body. It's not. So therefore, he will. It would be in violation. It would be that's norm. That's a normal way he carries. It should be a Torah that everybody should agree. So that's the Gemara's question. Why doesn't everybody agree? Everybody should agree that it should be a Torah violation. You can't tell me, you can't compare it to the case of the tailor. You can't tell me that the same way you're exempt, that Rabbi Meir says that the tailor is exempt when he sticks it in his garment, it will be the same thing by the Zav should also be exempt. No, the tailor, the reason why the tailor is exempt, you know why is the tailor when he goes out with it stuck in his garment? Because that's not how he wears it during the week. It's not how he carries the needle. You don't carry it that way. That's why Rameya says you're exempt. Because the only time you do that is when you want to advertise. But that's not the normal way of carrying. However, when it comes to the Zav, the guy who has concern for disha, this is the way he carries this thing. He attaches it to himself. So therefore, that's the normal way of carrying for him. And he proves his point. Ilo temahachi. If you're not going to say this, if you have a person who's not a carpenter, right? If you're a carpenter and you take a log and you cut out a certain size from the tree, right? You cut down the tree and then you want to cut out a certain size to make a certain size piece of wood you need for something. So that you cut it to size. That's called the malacha. That's you created something. You fixed something. You completed something. You made a utensil. Whatever you did is a violation of Shabbat. If you would cut a piece of wood in a way to make it into something usable. So let's say if you're not a carpenter, are you going to tell me if you're an average guy and you went ahead and you carved out something to be used, are you going to tell me the Remeya Hachinami Dula Machayav? Are you going to tell me that Remeya will say you're not chayav? Remeya wouldn't say, meaning the same Remeya who says you're not chayav by the guy who puts the needle in his thing, in his garment. You want to say he's going to hold, but you're going to say, but when it comes to carving out, if you carved out and that's the norm, that you did a job, even though you might not be the perfect craftsman, but that's the normal way that you will carve out a piece of wood, and that's called the malacha. The violation of Shabbat is not only for you have to be a carpenter to violate the Shabbat by cutting out a piece of wood. If you're not a carpenter and you cut out a piece of wood and you made it into a thing, it's also chayav. So too, this guy who's a zav, if that's called his norm is to wear it this fashion. That's called violation. That's called norm. So since it's not logical. Now he says the same way that even if you're not a carpenter, you cut a piece of wood, you would be chayav because that's the way you cut a piece of wood, and that's called enough of a norm. So too a zav, since this is the way that the guy who's afraid of the discharge, that's the way he goes out. This is the way he carries, right? This is his way of carrying. This is the normal way of carrying. Even though the average person does not wear this, because the average person doesn't have this discharge concern, that they won't wear it. The average person doesn't wear this cup. But this guy, this is the way that this guy wears his cup. Right? He wears the cup. This is how he carries. This is the norm for him. If the norm for him, he should be chayav. Even he should be in violation of Shabbat. So why is the zav not in violation of Shabbat when he goes out? Why should he be not a Torah violation? That's what the Gemara is trying to figure out. What is the explanation of that opinion that says that the zav is not a Torah violation? Okay, I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's flip till Monday. Everybody divided back Monday morning. Yeah, we like that. Good morning. We want you to feel that. Morning. Morning. See you again. You too. Thank you much.